I am skipping out on a music festival this weekend that I really wanted to go to. And it's going to be the best decision I could have made. And I wanted to explain as to why. You know, music, dancing, it's a big part of who I am. I absolutely love it. It's kind of all I do now. I mean, it's other than, my self development journey, which mainly revolves around isolation and presence and kind of keeping to myself. When I do decide to do something, it's full send to a music festival for a few weekends. So to pump the brakes on, work. So I'm off work till Tuesday. Got no other obligations. I've got the full weekend in front of me and ahead of me. But something inside was just telling me to stay, to focus on my content, think about how much I can get done by passing and just staying present for these next 4 days and focusing on, things that really matter and kind of gaining some momentum and traction in areas of my life that provide true fulfillment. The thing is that both things, whether it's the music festival or staying home and being productive and creating content and focusing on my grind, basically, both things are going to provide dopamine. They're going to make me feel good at the end of the day for the things that I do. But one is more of a like high spike instantaneous dopamine, where one is more of like a slow burn, delayed gratification. In the latter there, that's what builds long-term sustainability. The neural pathways in our mind to keep us moving forward on the things that really matter to us, that truly matter. And again, like music, dancing, I'm a big house head, so I love to shuffle. Side note, like that's a big part of my growth. Like a few years back, I saw some guys dancing after EDC or at EDC, and I was like, God, I really wish I could shuffle, man. I really wish. Then internally, I was like, dog, you haven't even tried. Like, what? Who says you can't? But you can't just expect to do something without putting in the work to do it, And a few years later, now I just love to move, and I think I'm halfway decent at it. But it took the work, the developing the muscle memory, going through the hard phases before it ultimately kind of became conditioned in me and habitual and a part of who I am. Now it's not like I'm going to try and practice shuffling. It's like I'm a shuffler. And you have to go through that phase with anything. You have to go through the ebbs and flows, the trials and tribulations of anything before it becomes a part of who you are. But again, we have this issue with doing the work, or this fear that we're not capable of doing tasks because you haven't even tried yet. We are capable of doing anything that we want if we put our minds to it and put the work in. It's just a matter of time. That's going to be arbitrary based on the individual and the context, what it is you're trying to accomplish, but step by step, day by day, just 1% here, 1% there, and you will succeed. Our minds are fascinating, man. And to segue back to the mind here, it's like the neuroscience behind delayed gratification. We have to put in the work now for the reward later. You have to go through, again, the trials and tribulations, the suffering, and then on the other side of that suffering, on the other side of that pain, is the real true rewards that we all seek. And that's what this weekend is a perfect example of that. Like, I've had a rough couple weeks. I kind of mentioned it in a video that I just created earlier today, which I'm planning on uploading, of course, that I've gotten away from my routine a little bit. And with that has obviously accompanied some additional stress, some responses towards situations that I'm not necessarily proud of. Hard days. And it's again, it's no coincidence, because there is no coincidence, is that those hard days and those stressful times have certainly correlated with me not doing the inner work to downregulate my nervous system. That's the way it is. We think that the external world is what causes us to feel some sort of way internally, but it's the mirror principle, guys. Our internal state of being, our internal way of thinking about our life, thinking about who we are and what we're doing and where we're going and everything. If we look at it like a glass half full perspective and life is good, then life is good. Things are going to unfold in that way. But if we have some sort of negative outlook or perceived like jaded perspective towards, oh, life's not fair, these things just happen to me, well, what do you think you're going to get? And again, the latter is always going to be the given. Like, that's always the given. You've got to earn a positive mindset through the work that we do on ourselves. And we have to earn the right to go out and let go and expand on a great reality that we've created for ourselves. But for some reason, for me this weekend, it felt more of like an escape if I were to go. It was like, life has been tough, things have been hard, so what, you're going to run from them now? You're going to go out and party and do your thing when you really should be focusing on getting back on the horse, steering things in the right direction? And that, there's a level of self-awareness and accountability that kind of comes along with that. But we have to be capable of seeing the signs when they're presented to us and then acting accordingly. But yet most people want to act, we let fear ultimately dictate our decision making. We either let fear get in the way of doing things that we know we are supposed to be doing, fear of not succeeding, fear of what other people think, fear, yada, 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 or we let like the fear of missing out dictate us from going and doing things. Like, yeah, you know what? Like internally something's telling me to stay put, but I've already taken off work. I've got the days off. I've got plans made. You know what? It's been a rough week. Let's just go. Let's just go send it. And then guess what happens in situations like that? That's when things don't unfold the way they should. You're dealt a short hand. Maybe, unfortunate car accident or a ticket on the way to the event, or, maybe, something happens there at the event that just isn't ideal. Maybe it can be anything. I can go on and on, but that's usually when the negative things happen, is whenever we go into certain situations from a escape mentality, running from the way that we truly feel. And then we expect things just to, it's going to be all good. Things are fine. I'm just going to run from the way that I truly feel. I'm going to run from the stresses and anxieties that I've had. I'm going to run from the things that I know that I should be doing, and it'll all work out. And yeah, sometimes it does. Sometimes we can escape and distract ourselves so much, and not always is it going to be all bad. But generally, those are when you're working from behind the eight. Those situations are when you're working from behind the eight ball. You go into a certain situation with some sort of negative perspective, or like just internal negativity, operating from your sympathetic nervous system, essentially. Well, again, guess what? That's when the universe is going to provide you certain situations that are only going to mirror the way that you actually feel inside. No, we want it to be all good always. Like Mark Manson said this, he said, if it's not a fuck yeah, then it's a no. Always. But we have such a hard time saying no. A lot of times that's where like the real growth is. It's a lot of times not doing certain, of course, don't say that with a caveat there. Yes, we have to do the things that we know that we're supposed to do, which in of itself can be difficult. But sometimes real growth and self-discipline comes down to the things that we don't do, to saying no. And we have to follow our intuition. We have to be okay with that. Whatever is going on inside, whatever feelings that we're having are generally spot on. And you have to be willing to be okay with that. You can't fight it. And again, you may get away with it this time, you may get away with it that time, but you have to keep in mind that every decision that we make is an ongoing chain of events that will play out at some point. And our current situation that we are in is directly correlated to our past decision making. So you maybe make this decision now, and in this example, go to the festival and things are all good, but who knows, maybe I meet a girl or something, and then all of a sudden I'm getting energy sucked by some girl over the next few weeks. That's just mentally draining. That's just an example, but that's the reality. Someone who's no good, maybe I go and get sick or something, and then now the next few weeks I'm behind the 8 ball even more. Maybe I go and my phone gets stolen. You never know. You never know what could happen that ultimately leads you down a path of worst case scenarios. But that's how this stuff works, guys. Everything is connected. Every decision we make is going to lead us down a trajectory, and what we want to do is make the right decisions, do the right things, follow the intuitions that we have, because they are correct. And if you continue down that path of making the right decisions and doing the right things, doing the hard things, delayed gratification, where are you going to end up? Exactly where you're supposed to be, and becoming the best version of you. I can pass on a music festival this weekend. I can focus on my content and spending time with my dog and my cat and cleaning my apartment and finding other little ways that provide the same feel-good responses as going out and dancing and shuffling all weekend, because there will be time for that. But if my internal dialogue, if my internal response when thinking about going is one that says, no, maybe just sit this one out, then I'm man enough to do that. And we have to follow our gut, because it's gonna steer us in the right direction always. No breaks, guys. Click like, subscribe, enjoy the ride.